Welcome to another edition of our podcast. My name's Jack,
And I'm Michael.
and we're the founders of Project 45, a community action group dedicated to making America great again. And we're here to talk about manufactured hate crimes and hoaxes that are going on across America today. So hopefully we give you some good information and good insight into actually what's going on across the country. Uh, this really came to our attention when with the Jesse Smollett incidents that was taking place across. I'm sure everybody's heard about that. The fake attack or alleged fake attack. Alleged at this point. So that's really what kind of brought this to our attention, and we kind of
just began to think, are hate crimes a big issue in the United States? Are they really as prevalent as they would have us to believe in the mainstream media? Because there's a New York Times article that the headline is "Fake Hoaxes Hate the Real Crimes." But as I was thinking about that, and thinking about in the context of this Jesse Smollett alleged fake hate crime, I was thinking, if hate crimes are so prevalent, then why is there a need to fake a hate crime other than personal gain, which it seems to be what is one of the motives.
Yeah,
an alleged motive for him is for personal gain, but why, if hate crimes are so prevalent, if racism is so prevalent, if hate in the United States is so prevalent, then why is there this need to concoct these fake hate crimes?
Right. If you turn on the news today, you probably could agree, Michael. If you were to turn on the news today, you would think that hate crimes is an epidemic at this point. Me and you couldn't walk out the door without somehow witnessing some form of hate or some form of hate crime, because racism, because that's all you hear every time you click on the news here lately, is that this information about how hate crime is on the rise and hate crimes have increased, and so on and so on and so on. And I know a lot of people are diving into this subject, so we wanted to kind of get in on it. And I think one of the first incidents, and there's many others that have not made the national news, but we'd all started a few weeks ago with this video of the Covington High School Catholic kids, with the March for Life in Washington D.C. And almost immediately, just a barrage of not only Democratic presidential hopefuls and candidates jumped on this. It has to be true. It is what it is. And let's be frank, it is what it is because these people have an agenda. And the agenda is to make you think, one, that Trump has somehow caused some, I don't want to use the term that most people use. So I'm not going to say it because it's fake, and I'm not going to sit here and spew it out. But they want you to think that people have just basically gone nuts because Trump has become president, and it's sparked these outrage. It's sparked, it's encouraged these hate groups to come to head and come to surface once again, like they've come out of the woodwork, and they feel empowered to, project evil across the world, the country, and that's not what's actually taking place.
No. I don't know if maybe I'm thinking of the same term that you're thinking of, but I think the term you don't want to use is Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Is that the term you don't want to use?
Yeah, that's exactly the term I don't want to use.
Well, let me clarify what I believe, or my perception of Trump derangement syndrome is. Trump derangement syndrome is a psychotic syndrome that has been developed by the left to cause them to create a fake narrative in order to make Trump look bad, or the country look like it's something that it's not. I would say that Jesse Smollett is suffering from Trump derangement syndrome because he decided to allegedly, according to the Chicago police, the police chief, I believe, is a he's a brown person.
Yeah.
I don't want to call him African American because he may not be African.
It may not be politically correct.
It may not. It may not be. I don't know. So I'll just say that his skin is brown. So according to some people, it's absolutely impossible for him to be racist because his skin is brown. But so we have the Chicago police chief saying, and the reports that came out in the media, they say that Jesse Smollett reported that the individuals who attacked him, who we now know allegedly are these Kenyan brothers, that one was potentially on, was an actor on Empire. But so he says that these brothers that attacked him said this is MAGA country. They were wearing MAGA hats and he's a faggot and blah 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 and whatever.
Well, that goes back to let's go back to our previous video, our first video. There's your first clue.
Yeah.
That these people got attacked in Chicago. Yeah, 84% of the registered voters are the people that actually voted in the 2016 election in Chicago. 84%. That's 84%. A whopping 84% voted for Hillary Clinton. And we're supposed to believe that Jesse Smollett. I would even know who Jesse Smollett was until this happened.
No, I wouldn't either.
But
never
some third-rate actor
honestly.
on Empire that just happened to be a successful show on Fox. And kudos for Fox for finally finding a show other than The Simpsons that could last more than a week and a half. But 84% of people in Chicago voted for Hillary Rodham Clinton. And we're supposed to believe that Jesse Smollett is a victim of a hate crime in Chicago.
In a predominantly black
and
homosexual, from what I understand, neighborhood.
Right. So that's where we kind of got into dealing with this topic of manufactured hate and hate crime hoaxes in America and kind of what's going on today. So what I touched on a little earlier was the Covington High School. And when that video surfaced on YouTube and across social media, the mainstream media, especially our fans at CNN, especially those people, really jump to conclusions, and they're not the only ones. I'm not going to give them, they're not innocent, or they're not, or the only ones that are guilty, rather. But here you have CNN. I mean, those people just immediately jumped on it, and there's a double standard. If you're wearing a MAGA hat and you're caught on camera, or you're alleged to have perpetrated a hate crime or an act of violence, you are automatically persecuted, found guilty in a court of public opinion, automatically. There's no question about it. There's no
due process.
There's no due process. There's no fact-finding. You're wearing a MAGA hat. You must have did it because Trump is a racist. Trump is a bigot. Trump is misogynist. He's all the phobias and the phobics that Hillary Clinton can put in her giant basket of
the phony words.
Yeah, her phony words that she made up during the election.
Xenophobic.
How much more of this are we going to take, America? How much more are we going to sit back and listen to this spewed out garbage from these news media?
How long are we going to buy into it as actual fact and not realize that they have an agenda, and the agenda is division? And the thing that really ticks me off the most about stuff like this is they constantly say, especially MSNBC and those people over there, and CNN, but MSNBC, they're constantly saying how divisive President Trump is and how he's dividing the nation and empowering the KKK and racists and supremacist groups to come forward, and how he's given them a platform.
Well,
all this other stuff, and it's just not true. If anybody is driving hate and division in this country, it's MSNBC, it's CNN, it's people that create a fake narrative, a fake hate crime to propel their fame forward, or for whatever motive that they have, or to perpetuate a narrative. If this stuff is real, why do they need to create fake crimes?
Right. I mean, and it's not just the mainstream media that's in on this bandwagon of creating division. It's the Democratic Party. It's the leaders of Congress.
Oh, what did Kamala Harris say? Jesse Smollett. This is
a modern day lynching. I mean, she didn't even know the facts, and this is the modern day lynching. I mean, anything for this woman to get one more vote for whatever it takes, whoever she has to pander to. I mean, her soul is up for the sale, ladies and gentlemen. And then for the highest bidder.
And then when the facts came out, she's walking it back and saying, well, let's wait for all the facts.
I mean, there's a video out there of a reporter asking her about, the facts that came in, now what's her opinion.
It's a hoax.
It was a deer in the headlights. She looked like she had got ran over by a Mack truck at this point. I mean, again, like Michael said, how much more of this crap are we going to buy into before we wake up and realize what exactly is going on in this country? This is an organized effort to divide this country, because a house that is divided will surely fall, and that is exactly what the goal is of these people. If you can divide us in, and especially the Democratic Party, that's been their long-term goal or MO for some years. If I can divide you and somehow make you a victim, I can isolate you from the mainstream, and then you can get their support. They've done it with the black people. They've done it with the gay and lesbian community. They've done it with basically any minority. You're a perpetual victim to the Democratic Party. So I mean, that's what we're looking at here. Everybody jumped to conclusions. Everybody it jumped on this bandwagon that it must be true. But like I said, if you're a Trump supporter in a MAGA hat, you're automatically guilty. There's no due process. There's no fact-finding. You're guilty. And that's what's wrong with this country today. That's what's going on. Because if we can divide you, we can conquer you. And that's the only way the Democratic Party can win with their ideals that they've got to get.
And I'll just interject something here. Yeah. That's the whole point. And, even... I think Democrats are at the forefront of this, but even Republicans, the whole power system of this United States, if they can keep us divided against each other, if they can make the whites think the blacks are their problems, if they can make the blacks think that the whites are their problem, and if they can make the Hispanics think that the whites are their problem, then they keep us all divided against each other, and we can't see that the real problem is them.
Yeah, and that's what they don't want you to see.
That's what they don't want you to see. They don't want you to see that Nancy Pelosi, who's been in office since the 80s.
Since dinosaurs, it feels like.
Dinosaurs. We have a...
most of us probably grew up and we know what the Wizard of Oz is, or we've seen the Wizard of Oz. It's don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. And that's what the division is all about. It's all about keeping you looking at the phantom wizard.
I mean, let's go back to what you said a while ago. You talked about the Klan and these hate groups are on the rise and blah 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 that they tried to spill out here, folks. When is the last time that you went about your daily business and you ran into a Klan meeting?
We live in the South.
We live in the South, and I haven't seen a Klans meeting in my whole 39 years.
In my whole life, never in my whole life.
I have never seen a Klansman. I have never seen anybody that claims to be part of the Ku Klux Klan. I have never met anybody that's dressed in a white robe and a hood and went around and burned a cross. I've never even heard of that even happening anywhere remotely in the South. And we're from Tennessee. That's where we're broadcasting from. And I'm going to rural Tennessee by that. And no means are we big city Tennessee or anything like that, if that even truly exists, even in big city Tennessee. But I mean, I grew up in a town with my grandparents, basically raised in that area. I mean, the town had a population of like 900 people with one stoplight and a grocery store. And our Saturday nights were sitting on the courthouse square watching traffic come through. And I mean, it can't get much more country than that in Tennessee. And I've never seen a Klans meeting. I've never seen a hate crime. I've never seen any of that take place across the South. So, I mean, I'm going to ask you, when's the last time you stumbled about your your business, you stumbled on a Klansman, you stumbled on a Black Panther, you stumbled on any of these hate crime, it doesn't have to be black or white. When have you seen a hate group in the face of your daily business? It just isn't there. I'm not going to say that those groups don't exist.
They do exist.
They do exist on a very small microcosm. But as a whole, I mean, if you watch CNN, I mean, the guy next to you in the cubicle at your office is probably holding a Klan meeting right now. If you watch CNN and these, you know, these liberal, even Fox News, they're not innocent. Even they keep the narrative going. Because again, like we said in the first video, our first podcast, these people thrive off ratings and they thrive off their advertisers. So, I mean, they're going to tell you whatever they need to do to sensationalize whatever the news thing is today so that you'll tune in and hopefully your jaw will drop and you'll just mindlessly tune in and their advertisers are going to get paid and they're going to get paid.
Well, during the election and just the last couple of years or whatever, the people that I saw bringing the KKK to the forefront was the left.
Yeah.
Because that was part of their protest chants. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
I mean, did you ever see the KKK campaigning for Donald Trump?
Not one time.
You had David Duke. And let's be honest, David Duke would endorse anyone that gave him any kind of media attention. And that's what he does. I mean, he's going to go out there. He's going to endorse the front runner. I mean, I think he recently endorsed one of the Democrats. I can't remember who. But, I mean, let's face it. He's a washed up has-been, desperate for media attention. And if he will sit there, if they can get David Duke on camera saying that I support Trump, even though he probably doesn't. Because, I mean, let's be fair. David Duke ran for president before. He has political ambitions before. The man's a narcissistic.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, yeah. I mean, that's irrelevant. But the mainstream media would take anybody they can that's related to or even any kind of ties to a hate group, except for Barack Obama.
They won't talk about Barack Obama. They won't talk about Antifa.
They won't talk about Antifa. They won't talk about Barack Obama's ties to the Church of GD America.
Yeah, they won't talk about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, they won't talk about Black Lives Matter and their intimidation tactics and how they came about off false narratives and anything. But let's get on task. Let's get to Covington High School is where we were at before we got off on this rant here. But I mean, we all know what Covington High School, these group of high school, Catholic high school boys were in Washington, D.C. for the March of Life. And it was first reported that I believe it was Vietnam.
Well, yeah. I'll say alleged.
Yeah, let's allegedly.
Alleged Vietnam veteran, because there's questions of whether he was an actual Vietnam veteran or not. As the story progressed on that, he came out to be more and more of a fraud. But the first reports were that these Covington High School students who were wearing Make America Great Again hats were taunting this Native American, and there was this racial standoff. Too bad Pocahontas wasn't there
I know it.
To ease tensions between the whites and the natives. But just a little caveat about that. People say that Trump is being mean when he calls her Pocahontas, but the only thing he's doing is calling her out as a liar, because that's what she is. Because she's lied for years.
That's another I mean,
talk about racism.
I think we watched a video where CNN just spewed a bunch of this crap out there about how Trump is saying all this rhetoric. He's divisive. Look, he calls Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. Well, he didn't call Pocahontas or Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas for the simple fact that she's an American Indian or an Indian of any descent. For crying out loud.
1,024.
1,024. I mean, we probably got more American Indian in my pinky than she does. But I mean,
I definitely do.
Definitely do.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Michael said, Trump's calling her Pocahontas because she's a flat out liar. She's a flat out liar, and nobody holds her.
She's lied to what? Yale.
She's lied to Yale.
She's lied to the
Bar
Association.
Yeah. So you've got a presidential candidate that's a flat out freaking liar about her
total fraud.
A total fraud about her ethnicity. Imagine if Donald Trump said he was 1,024th black. How racist and blah, blah, blah we'd always hear on CNN. I mean, it would be a nonstop 24-hour coverage of how Donald Trump is a racist claiming to be black. Nobody sit there and said that Barack Obama was 50% black, 50% white. No, he's straight up black.
Straight up black.
Straight up black. First African American president we've ever had. Would have been different if he was a little bit more whiter. You bet your buddy would. Mm-hmm. But here we are.
Colin Powell.
Yeah, Colin Powell, black guy. Come on, get out of here. This is what they want you to think, because if you're mad at me and this group is mad at them, then they can conquer us. But I mean, if you look at the first videos of the Covington High School, it literally looks like if you could go back in time and put those kids in pilgrim uniforms, you'd think this was a standoff prelude to the Revolutionary War or something, or the American Indian War. But I mean, well, we're gonna play audio here in a minute of the initial reports from CNN. But like Michael said, this was a standoff between this alleged Vietnam Native American beating this drum in the face of these big bad white kids with their MAGA hats, intimidating this guy, taunting him and making fun of him,
heritage and his culture.
Just every laundry list that they could have come up with. This is what was happening, and it took. You had people, celebrities, newscasts, newspapers, everybody instantly, because you know what? This fit everything that these rabid reporters...
It checks boxes.
Yeah, it checked... These reporters are so hell-bent on getting the American people to hate President Trump that they're willing to do anything and latch on to any story that fits the narrative of themselves without any true journalistic instinct or journalist reporting. In fact, they simply went straight to, this fits our narrative, let's run with it, let's be the first one to get it. So one, get your ratings, get you to log in and click and listen and all that thing. Our advertisers love it. The puppet strings are pulling. And we're going to latch on to this video. So Michael's going to start up the audio here in a second. And just listen. This is the initial report from CNN, how they portrayed it. If you could see the video, like I said, it's the standoff between the kids and the American, the drummer, the American Indian or Native American. You've probably all seen the video, but just listen to the audio, and then we'll give our commentary after that. Go ahead, Michael.
We are hearing from a Native American elder and Vietnam War veteran speaking to CNN after a disturbing viral video shows a group of teens harassing and mocking him in the nation's capital. Here's the video sparking outrage on social media right now. Nathan Phillips was beating his drum and singing an American Indian protest song. And this was on Friday on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial when he saw a clash erupting between a group of teenage students and 4 African American young men preaching about the Bible and oppression.
A bunch of child molesting faggots.
That's right.
Just like your dad.
Okay, I'm going to stop the video right there, because what CNN classified as preaching the Bible was a group of black men from, I haven't researched what they're from, black Israelites or something like that, calling Catholic youths, young guys, child molesting faggots. So apparently CNN classifies preaching about the Bible as calling young white people child molesting faggots.
But there's not one single video, there's not one single report, there's not one single investigative story to these black Israelites. Is that what they were called? The black
Israelites? I think that's what they were called, yeah.
Well, whatever this group is, there's not one
black
single
Hebrews,
black Hebrews.
Something, I don't care.
There's not one single investigative report. There's not one single report on these black guys. There's not one interview. There's not one attempt to define who these people are. There's not one attempt to educate what this group is about. The whole focus of this story was all these white Catholic, Christian, MAGA wearing people were out there causing trouble and creating hate and somehow oppressing this Native American individual during his protest hunt. The video clearly showed that the kids were there enjoying their time in D.C., their vacation, and they were taunted, they were called names, they were called racist remarks, they were called slurs and all this slander. And nobody ever reports on the fact that these black people did this to these white kids. I mean, could that be a hate crime? I mean, it's borderline.
I mean, can hate crimes be perpetrated against white males?
Not in this day and age. With your white privilege and all this, white people are. Basically, if you listen to the media and politicians today, you deserve it, white America. You deserve every bit of hatred, every taunt, spit in the face, egg, broken nose, bloodied lip, black-eyed. Assault that you get for wearing your MAGA hat. You deserve it, white America, because you're guilty. You're guilty. You're a racist. You're a bigot. You're all these things that they want you to be because you're simply white.
You're a slave owner. You're privileged.
You're a slave owner. And let's be honest with it. There is nobody alive today that is a slave or ever been a slave. So stop telling me that you somehow deserve reparations for your oppression, because 95% of the people, these young black people that are sitting here demanding reparations, you grew up in the most privileged time in American history for a black individual.
I agree.
You never once saw slavery. You never once saw the oppressions of the 60s and the 50s and all those times. You grew up in a society where you had the opportunity to be successful, where you had the opportunity to go to school, graduate from high school, go to college, and have a successful career. You make of your life what you make of it. And you have everything laid out in front of you that this country has given you. There's none of this institutional racism that you hear of. There's none of this white privilege that you hear of, because we're all on an equal playing field to the most degree. And there's an anomaly out there that the
anomaly is a good word. Yeah.
That the success is defined by how much money you make. The success is defined by I'm a CEO of a giant corporation, because
success is made possible by the color of your skin, which is absolutely not true.
Which is not true, because living in the South, I can show you an equal amount of white people struggling to make ends meet and living in squalor conditions. Probably worse conditions than some black people that live in. So I'm not going to discount that
poverty is real.
Poverty is real, and poverty has no skin color.
Disadvantages are real, but the causation of those disadvantages are what should be talked about. Because the causation of those disadvantages are not always the color of your skin. There are also other facts that are not talked about. There are facts like, is there a father? Is there a two-parent household? Is there a mother and father household? Did you graduate high school? Are you in the criminal justice system? There are many factors to say why people are not succeeding. And there are white people that are not succeeding in the same capacity that black people are not succeeding, because they're on the same playing field. They were in poverty when they were born. They were on government welfare. They didn't have a father in the household. They didn't graduate from high school. They are in the criminal justice system. I mean, there's all these factors that factor in that's far beyond the color of your skin, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Right, nobody's talking about, I mean, we talk about the disproportionate amount of black people. Black people, sorry, that was my phone there. Go Trump. But the disproportionate amount of black people that are incarcerated, and we give all the statistics about their background, single parent, like Michael just described, but you never hear anybody talk about the number of white people that are incarcerated and their circumstances of how they got there. Because I think, and I can speak from experience, from just my career field, that you do have the same elements in the white community. When it comes to the criminal justice system, you do have white people living in poverty, born in poverty, low education, no access to real education, or they feel that they don't have access to education. They can't get jobs. They're underemployed. They're not employed. They have a criminal background. These children are raised in single parent white families. The father or their mother is incarcerated, or they're divorced and there's no contact. The families are riddled and eat up in different variations of drugs in society, methamphetamines and heroin and other drugs in this area.
Opiates, yeah.
Opiate drugs that we've manufactured. Thank you to the big pharma industry and the medical industry.
And illegitimate children.
And illegitimate children. And it's not just
teenage pregnancy.
It's just not concentrated and defined in one race or ethnicity. It's across the board. But they're not going to talk about it because they need black people to go vote for Democrats. And the Democrats are not going to sit there and bring to light that white people suffer from the same ailments and the same societal downfalls that many other races do. Because they need black people to come out and vote for them. Because, God forbid, black people wake up and realize that in all the years that you voted for the Democrat parties, has any of the ghettos gotten better? Has your living situation gotten better? Have you had any access to any kind of jobs that's gotten better? Has your access to education got better? Has access to health care got better? Even though that you've got Obamacare that came your way. It doesn't work. Rising health care. If Obamacare worked, would we be talking in the 2020 election, would we be talking about American citizens having access to health care? Will we be talking about it on a national scale? I mean, if you listen just a few years ago, it was like, oh, Obamacare is working. It's working on a large scale, but it's not working in these Republican conservative states where the governors opted out of Medicare and so on. But here we are having Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. They're all talking about how health care has failed on a national level. And if it's failing on a national level, then it's failing because blue and red states. It's failed in blue and red states. It's not. If it's not an overall failure, then we would just be talking about how the state of Tennessee, who opted out of the Medicare for all option, how it's just failing in those areas. It's just failing in southern conservative red states across the United States abroad. It would just be failing in those areas. But we're talking on a national scale that drug prices have risen, that people don't have access to health care, that kids don't have access to health care, that families are working 40 plus hours a week. Mom and dad's working. They still can't pay their health care bills. They still can't get access to health care. They still can't go to the hospital at an affordable rate. So if Obamacare is truly working, then this is not a national issue. It's a regional issue, but yet the Democratic Party says it's a national issue. So that tells you, America, that Obamacare is an epic failure across the board, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from blue state to red state. So don't be fooled by this crap that they're spewing at you, that this Obamacare solved all the issues, because it just created more issues. And you look at it when people lost their jobs during the Obama era, when people were working 2 part-time jobs because you couldn't get a full-time job because people were opting out of the Obama healthcare option.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you had so many employees, you had to give them, had to give them health care and so on and so on. So a lot of companies said, well, we're not going to hire anybody full time anymore.
Or they cut full-time employees back to part-time employees.
How many people that are working in factories across America now, you can't get on at the actual factory like you could pre-Obama. You could actually go to a factory and be an employee of that company and reap the benefits of Medicare, of the medical benefits and the vacation benefits. But now you got to go through some third-rate, low-class, temporary service where you work for less money than the actual factory workers make, and you don't get any benefits, and that's the only way you can get a job. That's what Obamacare created for America. It didn't create opportunity. It didn't create access to health care. They want you to think that, because the state of Tennessee didn't give you Medicare for all.
They created a website.
They created a website that barely worked. A $1 billion website for you to sign up for this crap. So don't be fooled, America. We're kind of getting off topic, but I think we're hitting. We're hitting some nails.
Off topic, yeah.
But I mean, this is where we're at. This is what they want you to think, that
you can't survive without them.
Right.
That's the main objective of the Democratic Party, is that you are a victim. And I think that's what has created this hate crime hoax mentality, is that you get more recognition from being a victim than you get from being a victor or a hero.
Yeah.
And they create this victim mentality. if you're black, you're a victim. If you're L, you're a victim. If you're G, you're a victim. If you're B, you're a victim. If you're T, you're a victim. If you're Q, you're a victim. If you're Latino, if you're Hispanic, if you're coming across the border, you're a criminal. But they want you to think, if you're coming across the border illegally, you're a criminal. But if they want you to think that you're a victim. You're a victim of your society, and you're a victim of this society, and the only person that can help you is them. That's what they want you to think. They want you to think your only salvation is them.
Well, let me tell you,
Democrat Party.
Well, let me say this. If the Democratic and the Republican Party is your salvation, if they are the answer to all of our problems, then why the hell are we sitting here today talking about the problems that we're talking about today? You've got people in Congress and both parties have been there for 30, 40, 50 years, 20 years.
And
we're still talking.
And forth.
Yeah, power shifts back and forth through all that time. Democrats take control, Republicans take control, a Democrat's president, a Republican's president, and nothing's changed. We're sitting here talking about the same stuff over and over and over and over again. But yet you're the victim. You're the victim. You're a victim because you're black. You're a victim because you're brown. You're a victim because you're an immigrant. You're a victim because you're gay. You're a victim because you're poor. But nobody ever solves the fact that you're poor, that you're a victim, that you're LGBT. Nobody resolves the fact that you're an immigrant.
And I think one of the best examples that I can give you is our wars on fill in the blank.
Yeah.
We've had a war on poverty since 1960, what, 66?
Yeah, ever since LBJ, excuse me, LBJ.
What did he say? Oh, we don't want to say that.
Yeah, we don't want to say that. But he said, when he
episode.
signed the Civil Rights Act and the New Society came back, he ensured that black people would vote for him. And I'm going to say, he used the N-word, but he said, these N's are going to vote for us for basically the rest of their life.
He was a Democrat.
And that's a Democrat.
That's a Democrat.
But go ahead, Mike. I'll let you continue.
The war on poverty, where multitudes of people in this country are still in poverty. The war on drugs. The drugs. Nancy Reagan, I don't care. God rest her soul. I think she's dead. I'm not sure. But just say no. Just say no at the same time the CIA was being uncovered for smuggling cocaine smuggling cocaine into the country on CIA airplanes.
Yeah. So
the war on terror, and this is one thing that I can tell you about the war on terror. The war on terror is a war that will never end. We've been in the war on terror since 2001. It's 2019. We are still in Afghanistan. We are still in Iraq, and we're still fighting a war on terror.
America will always have an enemy.
An enemy. The new enemy
1984.
That's emerging. The new enemy that's emerging, if you can't see it for yourself, is primarily Russia. Russia on the cyber front, and North Korea on the physical nuclear weapon front.
Well, we had a conversation about that earlier, that we talked about this meeting in Vietnam between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. Everybody's talking about North Korea's nuclear capability, and that they must denuclearize and blah blah. And I mean, I couldn't help but point out the fact that since 2016, all we've heard about how Russia meddled in our election, that Russia hates America, that Russia is our big bad enemy. Yet Russia has nuclear capabilities, and you don't hear Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and all these Democrats in here talking about how we should denuclearize Russia, which I feel like poses a much greater threat, a much
Absolutely.
better capability of reaching America. Or China for that.
I mean, come on.
They're not going to talk about China because China writes the checks.
Absolutely.
China writes the checks.
Writes checks to Americans.
Right.
Thank you, Bill and Hillary Clinton.
So, I mean, but North Korea is somehow our big bad enemy, because we always need an enemy. If we always have an enemy, they have something to stand on. They have fear to work with. But we're going to go back to, before we get off that topic, we're going to go down another rabbit hole. But we're going to go back to the fact that that poverty exists, and these people have been talking about how they're going to end it forever, and they've got the solution and everything like that. But I mean, I grew up in a two-parent home. Mom stayed at home. Dad worked. Dad joined the Army for the extra income. He served his country. He was a proud a member of the armed services, and I am very proud every day that he served his country honorably for over 20 years. That's something that I've always leaned on, and that inspired me to get involved in my community. It inspired me to go into a career of public service. But, me and Michael we both grew up in very low-income families. I remember times when we were children that our meals were ketchup sandwiches, a piece of white bread with ketchup on it. And that's what we had. My dad worked. My dad didn't have the opportunity to get education. He joined the Army for extra money, like I said. He started working in a factory to provide for us. But we never went to school without good clothing. We never, we wanted, but we always had the essentials. Of course we wanted the Nike shoes. We wanted the name brand clothes. We wanted all that stuff that we saw other classmates and other people have. But my dad worked an honest day's living in a factory, and how we got to where we're at now, and I'm by no means would I even classify myself as rich. I'd be middle class at very best. But we got to where we're at, and my parents got to where we're at by hard work. The United States government didn't help us get to where we were at. When my dad had an Army-related accident and was out of work, there was no United States government there to give us an extra check. There was no a charity that gave us a check. There was no welfare. We didn't qualify for welfare because my dad had made too much money. He worked too much. And when it got to that point where he needed assistance and we reached out, we were denied. So we relied on community and we relied on family to make up for those times. But somehow we ended up making it. My dad went back to work, and he continued to work for 20 more years or plus years in a factory to make ends meet. And I went to college because my dad told me the value of hard work and dedication towards an education, that I put all my efforts into learning and studying, and I got scholarships to go to college. And the difference that wasn't made up in the scholarship, I worked. I worked full time to go to college. So your college debt and all this extra expenditures is because you've raised a society of young people that don't want to work. And you've raised a society of young people that think they can go out there and get an education in literature and crayon coloring, and then go out and get a lucrative career in
art, women's studies, Chinese literature. Where are you going to get... When was the last time you saw a job posting for somebody in Chinese literature? I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. Or Mongolian history. I mean, if you major in Mongolian history, I'm currently looking for a job, and I have not seen one posting for a job for somebody with expertise in Mongolian history. But conversely, on the same track that he was talking about, I was in a similar situation when I grew up. I didn't think we were poor, but to look back on it, we didn't have a whole lot. My mom and dad both worked. They worked very hard. And after 41 years of marriage and raising 2 kids, my mom and dad worked their way up to what I would consider upper middle class. They make close to $80,000 a year between them. So they worked their way up to upper middle class, but they didn't start out as upper middle class. They weren't college educated. They were both high school graduates. They got married young. They had 2 children, and they raised us to know the value of hard work because that's what they exhibited us. They raised us with discipline because that's what they exhibited to us. And I can speak to this to the statistic that says if you're involved in the criminal justice system that the cards are stacked against you. It's absolutely true, and I am a white male, and I can tell you that I do not experience white privilege because I'm involved. I have been involved with the criminal justice system, have DUIs that are over 12 years old. One of them is almost 20 years old. Have drug possession charges that are 12 to 13 years old. And I find it very difficult to find a job. And those are misdemeanor charges. So if you have felony charges on your record, I can't imagine how hard it would be to find a job. And I can tell you, I'm not experiencing any white privilege in my search for a job. I have a college degree, be it associate's degree. It's not a bachelor's degree. I have a college degree. I'm a high school graduate. I have work experience, and I'm finding it hard to find a job because of my criminal history. That's 13 years old. So I'm not going to call that racist. I'm going to call that bad choices. I made bad choices in my life. And let me tell you something. This is something that people don't want to face this day and age. And especially with this Jesse Smollett case that we're talking about, is people don't want to face the fact that bad choices lead to bad consequences. Because we live in a day and age where people haven't had to experience consequence. You can't spank your children anymore, according to popular culture. You can't spank your children anymore. You can't discipline your children anymore. No child can lose. And we created this culture that we saw really come to the forefront in the 2016 election, where people and individuals had breakdowns because Hillary Clinton lost the election. That's why there is a Russian collusion investigation, because Hillary Clinton lost the election.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us just ask this question right here, and then I'll let Michael continue. Donald Trump, President Trump, is one of the most public figures in America in this day and age. Well-known billionaire, a builder, a businessman, a TV star, WWE. He dove into WWE for a little bit. I mean, this guy's been in anything and everything you can think of. We knew within 10 minutes every detail of the Las Vegas shooter. We knew he wasn't involved in this. We didn't know. We knew everything down to his shoe size within 10 minutes. But we have one of the most public figures in the United States history, and we're having a 2+ year investigation on whether this man is a Russian agent or involved in Russian collusion. But yet our United States government knows everything about this obscure, unknown man in 10 minutes, but we don't know anything about the most public figure in American society today. We don't know if he's a Russian agent. Bull crap.
And I think this is going to be a future show for us. The only people that have been implicated in the Russia collusion investigation are Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the FBI,
the
DNC, and Fusion GPS.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to report on that, and we're going to report on it, but nobody's going to report on that because it doesn't fit the narrative. There are powers at play in this country that have an agenda that is far bigger than what you can imagine. But there's an agenda, and there's pieces to the puzzle that have to play out in order for the entire picture to be present. And when the picture's present, it's too late for me and you.
It's too late. I fear, one of my major fears is that I fear it's already too late. That we've already gone to the point of no return. And that Trump is our buffer. Trump is our wake-up call. And Trump is the one who has been elected in this time because there is so much frustration of the direction that this country is taking. And Trump is our last chance to stand up against tyranny, against socialism, against communism, against the left and the right, because the left and the right have been in power for a long time. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, the Republicans and the Democrats who have been in office for 20, 15, and 30 years, they are working together for the same plan. And it's absolute and total control of America. It's a one world government. It's a one world system. It's a one world union ruled by a one world power. The plan of the deep state, which is the new popular term, the plan of the deep state is totalitarianism and total control, absolute power. It's the enslavement of the American people, which we already are enslaved to income tax and.
Well, I mean, you're enslaved not only to governmental institutions and policies and forms, but you're also becoming enslaved to the social media and the technology that's coming on. You're already dumbing down society and relying on technology to dumb down your daily routines. I mean, and don't get me wrong. There's a reason. I'm sure we'll get in this later on. There's a reason that Facebook and Amazon and these companies that give you these automated, voice-activated Alexas and Google Home and Google Assistant and all that stuff.
Let me interject something about Amazon. Something that most people don't really know is that Amazon has a CIA contract.
Right, that's where I was getting at. That why do these companies, these social media private companies, have CIA and government contract? You're volunteering your information freely to the United States government and these agencies, because
if you have an Echo Dot,
if you're having an Echo Dot, if that thing can hear you say Alexa, then it's hearing you say anything else, and don't let them tell you anything otherwise.
If it's constantly listening for Alexa, if it's constantly listening for the activator word, then it's constantly listening.
Right. So I mean, that's a whole other topic that we can't wait. And Michael's over here foaming at the mouth for that.
Foaming at the mouth.
So we'll try to bring it all back. We're going to have to close up here pretty quick, but we're going to get into these hate crime that we talked about. I think we really had a really freaking good show on that.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But I mean, we let you listen to the video where the Covington kids were. It was reported that they had a standoff, and ultimately it ended up being that they were the ones intimidated. They were the ones that were approached by this individual.
Hoax, yeah.
That was a hoax, and we went on to Jesse Smollett, and we all know the facts of Jesse Smollett. So I'm going to move really quick.
Yeah. Well, they're unfolding, but
they're unfolding. But what we know so far is that allegedly there was two Nigerian black individuals paid by Jesse Smollett to perpetrate this attack in Chicago, a heavily Democrat liberal area. That 84% of people living in Chicago voted for Hillary Clinton.
Not only did they perpetrate a physical attack against him, but also they allege that he sent a hate letter to himself before the physical attack happened.
He went all the way back to Murder, She Wrote. You know, younger people can
Murder, She Wrote.
Google that. He pulled an episode of Murder, She Wrote and cut out some old magazine clippings from Cosmopolitan magazine. Cosmopolitan magazine. And my country accent will not let me say certain words. So Cosmopolitan magazine, in order to falsify this death threat, hate mail, whatever. So we all know the circumstances, the news. The poor kid was so badly beaten with his slightly cut right eye that he couldn't take the noose off of his neck, and somebody took him to the hospital with this noose hanging around his neck, because man, what good TV a noose around a black actor's neck would make good TV. But Michael's got a list, a quick rundown list, I think, of these people that jumped on the bandwagon immediately of this story, and immediately jumped to conclusions, said, my God, here's these Trump MAGA hat wearing people running around this city, perpetrating hate crimes, racism, violence, hanging black people, and advocating for all this nonsense that's going on. So a quick rundown, Michael.
And I feel like it reads like the who's who of fake news.
Oh, yeah. It's the Oscars of who reported fake news first.
It's the Communist News Network, or CNN, PBS NewsHour. I can't believe our public funds go to support this. MSNBC, Rolling Stone. Didn't they report fake news?
Mm-hmm.
What was their most famous?
The Duke Lacrosse?
No. The most well, it might have been Duke Lacrosse. It was the rape culture, campus rape culture. That was one of their big fake news stories. Maybe you can pull it up for us. See what it was. Rolling Stone, CNN, the Atlantic.
Oh yeah, to the fraternity. The fraternity, the rape. Retracting a rape on campus.
Oh, what university was it?
Let's see if we can pull it up here.
Pull it up and see what it was. The Washington Post, which is owned by Amazon, by the way, Jeff Bezos.
The University of Virginia, Phi Kappa Psi.
Oh yeah, University of Virginia. Yeah. Washington Post, Huffington Post, CNN again. I mean, this is the who's who of fake news.
Yeah, this is the who's who
of anti-Trump.
The Academy Award goes to whoever the hell can
Don
report
Lemon.
the fakest. Don Lemon!
Or Don Lemon.
Don Lemon, if you want to be fancy and give him some credit. Let's face it, this guy's a lemon.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen to a video that Michael's got pulled up. Here's actually Don Lemon. Actually, he has found a way to actually defend Jussie Smollett in the face of this,
and make him a continuous
victim.
Yeah.
Victim. So, Michael, go ahead and play that audio for us, and we'll.
This is CNN tonight. I'm done. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to talk more now about Jussie Smollett tonight. Free on bail after his court appearance this afternoon. Look at that. Just look at that. Imagine that being your life right now. In the latest shocking detail in a story that is full of the police allege that he paid two brothers.
Okay, I know you've all seen it, but I'm just going to describe because we only have the audio, and Don Lemon, or whatever his name is.
Lemon.
Don Lemon is showing some footage of Jussie Smollett coming out of
the booking process.
With reporters smashed around him and his bodyguards, of course, and he looks tired and blah, blah, blah. And Don Lemon is trying to make us feel sorry for him for this circus that Jussie Smollett has created for himself.
I'm all for due process, and this guy has his due process. But these people are reporting facts. These are facts that we have, and I'm sorry, you can't sit here and put stuff on national cable news network and say, well, this guy's tried in a court of public. Don't report it if you don't want somebody to be tried in a public court of opinion. But when you're sitting here reporting facts, these are facts that jury's going to hear. So the American people can be their own jury and conform form their own opinion based on the facts that CNN, MSNBC.
Which was our last show, by the way.
Yeah. You use your critical thinking to come up with your own opinion as to what happened. And not everybody's opinion. You're going to sit here and say, oh, well, he deserves it. Yeah, he absolutely deserves due process. I can't sit here and advocate for the things that I believe in without advocating for due process, even for those people that I disagree with. But these are facts, and you're going to sit here and make this guy a victim. So, Michael, you can continue with this monstrosity of a video.
$3,500 to stage an attack on him last month, an attack that he claimed included racist and homophobic slurs and a noose around his neck. Police say the whole thing is a hoax.
Black police chief.
The statement released tonight on behalf of the Empire Actor says, in part, Mr. Smollett is a young man of impeccable character and integrity who fiercely and solemnly maintains his innocence and feels betrayed by a system that apparently wants to skip due process and proceed directly to sentencing. As I said last night, innocent until proven guilty. Innocent until proven guilty. It bears repeating. Justice Smollett has not been proven guilty. That is true.
The Trump supporters were proven guilty
on
on accusation.
But there is no disputing this fact. And it is a fact. This whole sordid story takes attention away from real victims. It takes attention away from people who have suffered, people who have died from gun violence in Chicago. As the police superintendent, Eddie Johnson, he said it best today, right at the beginning of this press conference.
So, I mean, here you've got Don Lemon sitting here and tell me that these people are innocent until proven guilty. And we just previously played you audio of CNN, the same cable network that Don Lemon works for, sitting here and basically saying that these white kids are guilty by first glance.
Until they're proven innocent.
Until they're proven innocent. So you can't have a double standard here. Because what the Jussie Smollett situation doesn't do is fit their narrative. And what the white kid Catholic video fit initially was their narrative. And when it was proven wrong, well, they just sidetracked into, well, racism and hate crimes and all these things exist across America. Poor, pitiful you. Poor, pitiful us all. Trump is the big bad enemy. We're all going to die. We're all going to be chained up and hung and lynched and sent back to concentration camps. And the gays are going to be put in camps, and the gays are going to be put down. And they're going to be put in against their will in conversion therapy camps. Wake up, people. Wake up.
And if you didn't notice, Don Lemon transitioned from hate crimes to gun violence in Chicago.
Not one example of a hate crime in America. He
Not
switched
one real
over.
example.
Yeah, one real. He
Not
switched
one real
over,
example.
like Michael said, he switched over to black on black crime in Chicago.
Crime.
Two different things,
two
different topics.
Well, what if they implement gun control in Chicago?
Well, that's one of the cities with the strictest gun control laws in the United States.
But I thought if
we all just gave up our guns.
I thought if we all gave up our guns and there was strict gun control laws, there would be no more gun violence.
Be no more. Maybe they would be bleach attacks.
Bleach attacks.
Yeah.
Noose attacks.
So Chicago has implemented some of the country's most strictest gun control laws in the United States, and now we've resorted in the city of Chicago, bleach attacks and noose hangings.
And apparently, according to Don Lemon, gun violence
exists in Chicago,
even though the guns have been heavily regulated, outlawed. Strictest gun laws in the country.
Yeah. So let's get that
across the country. We're going to talk to you like we're on
NPR. But, woo! God, imagine if we talked to you about like NPR all day. How many of you would be asleep already?
Maybe that's what's wrong with these people.
So, hate crimes. All you hear, that hate crimes are on the rise. Trump's been elected. Hate crimes are on the rise. Every time you go out to work every day, there's a Ku Klux Klanman in front of you at the checkout line at the supermarket.
There is, yeah.
I
was at Kroger today.
There's a Ku Klux Klan member pumping gas in front of you.
Yeah.
There's a Ku Klux Klan member getting something to eat in the fast food line in front of you. They're working at your supermarket. They're teaching your children. Come on. Hate crimes rose 17% last year, according.
Yeah, you heard it. You heard it at the gasoline station.
Get out at a gasoline station. Yeah, if you see a Trump supporter, you beat them down. You cuss them out.
KKKs, you create a crowd.
No, that's not what she's saying. If you see a Trump supporter.
Well, the MAGA hat's the new white hood.
The MAGA hat is the new white hood.
The new white hood. Okay, anyways, go back.
Okay, so
he said gasoline station.
Gasoline. He had to play it prematurely. But we'll play the whole thing in a minute. Hate crimes rose 17% last year, according to new FBI data reported by the Washington Post. Hate crimes are increasing along Trump's rhetoric, says the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. FBI hate crimes in USA and California. surge in the first year of Trump's presidency, says the San Francisco Chronicle. And the FBI surge in hate crimes in 2017 is the largest since 9/11, says the United Press Chronicle. Yeah. If you look at the data at the FBI.gov website, yeah, you're going to see an increase in hate crimes. But you're also going to find out, if you look at the data, if you have any kind of critical thinking, i.e. our first video, if you have any kind of critical thinking, you're going to look at the data and you're going to see that in 2016, 6,121 agencies reported crimes to the FBI. And in 2017, 7,175 criminal justice agencies, crime agencies, police agencies across America reported to the FBI. That's about 1,000 agency increase from 2016 to 2017. So if just one hate crime was reported in each one of those 1,000 new reporting agencies, there's your difference.
Wow.
One agency.
Now let's clarify language here. He said reported. He didn't say adjudicated. He didn't say convicted. He didn't say substantiated. He said reported.
None of this FBI data.
So let's just clarify what we're talking about Jesse Smollett. Yeah. This qualifies, according to the FBI. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack.
Correct.
This qualifies according to the FBI reporting criteria.
Standards, the criteria, yeah.
The standards, the criteria. Jesse Smollett, whether real or fake, alleged hoax, qualifies as a hate crime. Am I right?
It qualifies as a hate crime under the Uniform Crime Reporting Standards, the Hate Crime Reporting Act, I believe of 1990s or something along that line.
So you're telling me that the increase. Let me just go ahead. Let's just parse this out. Let's just talk about this. So you're telling me that the increase in hate crimes is not really increase in actual hate crimes. You're telling me that the increase in hate crimes is increase in reported hate crimes, whether real or fake.
Real or fake, because
adjudicated, charged,
right there,
processed.
None of the statistics has anything to do with an adjudicated, cleared through court, prosecution, anything like that. It's an actual reported. No guilty pleas, no solved crime. Well, you're right. According to the reporting standards of the FBI and the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, the Jesse Smollett incident technically qualifies as a hate crime at this point.
Now, even if it comes out on the other side,
it's a reported
legitimate crime.
Correct. It's a reported hate crime.
Well, it is a crime, but it's not a legitimate hate crime.
Right. It would statistically count as a hate crime.
It would still show up on the FBI
as a hate crime.
Okay.
And again, 6,121 agencies reported in 2016 their crime statistics to the Uniform Crime Reporting Program of the FBI, and in 2017, that went up roughly by 1,000 agencies to 7,175. And again, if just each one of those agencies reported one hate crime, there's your difference in the number. And another alarming, or not alarming to me, a surprising statistic, well, you may not know, it says 50.7% were white.
What?
50.7% of these hate crimes were perpetrated by white individuals. But what they don't tell you is that of that 50.7% classified as white by the FBI statistics, half of those are Hispanic or Latinos. Because how many of you have filled out an application and you look at the ethnicity categories and it says black, Native American, Asian, Middle Eastern, whatever, but it says white or not Hispanic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And so there you go. And then of the 50.7%, half of those are of the other category. Of the half of those are of the Hispanic category. So that leaves 25% are white. So if you look at it, you got 25% of the perpetrators would be white. The other 25% will be Hispanic or Latino of some descent of that nature. 21.33% are of Black or African American descent or ethnicity, and 7.5% were groups made up of other individuals of various other races, and 19.1% are actually unknown. So that 50.7% that they say are white also make up Hispanics. Just like you go out and fill out an application, it says Black,
white, not
Asian,
Hispanic,
and it says white, and your categories are Hispanic, not Hispanic.
Yeah, Hispanic,
which is mind-boggling. How you're going to sit here and make up ethnicity statistics, and you're going to include Hispanics and whites as the same category.
Well, I've filled out job applications recently.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, I have.
Who hasn't in America filled out an application and Hispanic, non-white, and whites are put in the same category?
Hispanic, non-Hispanic, or non-Hispanic white, or
So there you go. So if you listen to Don Lemon and the CNN and all these Washington Post, Amazon, MSNBC, you're going to sit there and they're going to tell you that whites that this it's on the increase. But if you pull your head,
let me talk about it. Let me just
go ahead.
Interject something about MSNBC research. Zabrignu Brzezinski.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's a good one. We'll probably do a show on that later on.
We probably will.
That's a good one to YouTube and research. Go ahead and research that, and that'll probably give you some insight to where we go on later on in this podcast.
She is his daughter. MSNBC.
Yeah, Mika.
Morning Squawk.
Morning Squawk.
Oh, Morning Joe.
Morning Joe.
Morning Joe. That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's like a morning doo-doo.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
So anyway, go ahead. What were you talking about? Statistics.
So, I mean, the statistics can be what they want to be if you want to manipulate them into the narrative that you want them to be. But, I mean, go to the FBI.gov and look at the statistics yourself, and you'll see that whites and Hispanics are grouped into the same category. And when you break it down, it's not an increase. It can be attested to the fact that more agencies are reporting. And if you want to look at,
they're trying to skew the statistics.
They're skewing statistics,
either willingly or
I tell you what, you've got our access to our Twitter. It's at Project_45. Our Facebook page is at Project45. If you can sit there and tweet me or send me a picture of the last time or any time from now to this point that you're standing in line behind a Ku Klux Klan member,
or a legitimate hate crime,
or you see a legitimate hate crime, tweet it, send us a picture, email it to us, we'll report on it. But it's not happening in America. You're not going to work, and you're not working next to the Klansmen.
Well, no. Well, you're not working next to Klansmen, but hate crimes are happening.
Hate crimes are happening on a minuscule.
Hate crimes are happening under minuscule racism is happening. Minuscule. I believe it's very minuscule. I don't believe it's systemic racism.
Racism in America, in any country, will always exist.
It will.
Hate will always exist. Hate crimes will always exist. It knows no boundaries. It knows no ethnicity. It is not to be underplayed. It's not to be downplayed.
No.
But it does not exist on the scale that they're making you think that it exists, or they want you to think that it exists. Because if you are in fear, if you are the perpetual victim, you will never rise to your potential. If you are always a victim, you will never gain economic success. You will never gain economic independence, because you will always be relying on someone else to pick you up out of victimhood. And that person, that rescue, that savior will never come. Because if it's come, then we wouldn't sit here and have the narrative that we have today, the same narrative we had in 1950 and 1960, that black people are somehow oppressed and will never be successful because you're black. Because you've never been successful since the beginning of the establishment of this country, because you're black. You'll never be anything because you're gay. You'll never be anything because you have brown skin. And that's not the case in America. You will be something if you lift yourself up out of victimhood. And the victimhood is a mindset.
It is.
I am not going to sit here and tell you that it is easy to come out of poverty into the middle class.
It's not.
Because it is not.
It's
because
not.
It involves hard work. It involves you doing jobs that you do not want to do.
Yep.
It involves flipping hamburgers.
Yeah.
Into the wee hours of the morning. It involves flipping hamburgers on the weekend. It
working
involves
at gas stations.
Yeah, it involves working in gas stations. It involves working in jobs that you feel like are beneath you. Factories where you're basically a human machine for the man, I guess you would say, for lack of a better term. But that is the work that we've all done. That is the work that my dad's done. That's the work that Michael's dad does. That is the work that both of our fathers continue to do.
Yep.
And they provided for their family. They put a roof over our heads. They put us through school. They were there for us when they needed us.
Still there.
We need them. They're still there for us when we need them. And they have food on the table.
And more than
they're not
ever
going
had in
to
my
Oscars,
life.
And they're not riding around in limousines.
They're
not
CEOs,
living behind.
No.
They're not living in mansions, and they're not living behind walls, and they're not living in Washington D.C. High society.
No.
But they're providing, and they're comfortable, and they're satisfied, and they're happy. And do they want a little bit more? Maybe they do. But they know that a little bit more comes with a little bit more hard work. But the most important thing to them is that we went to school, that we got an education, and we did, and we came out just a little bit better than they did. And they hope that we can take the values that they taught us, the morals that they taught us, and the skills that they taught us.
Hold on. Those are, no. Morals and values?
No.
Yeah.
The morals and the values that they taught us. That we can take all those skills that they provided us, so that when we got a little bit more, that we can take those things and teach them the value of hard work. And they, our children, can get a little bit more than we did.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to wake up every day, and you're not going to wake up each day, and you're not going to have a child, and it's not going to grow up to be a CEO. It's not going to grow up to own its own business. It's not going to grow up to be head of a university. It's not going to grow up to be president. And it's not going to grow up to be in the United States Senate. And it's not going to grow up to be in the House of Representatives. And it's not going to be governor of your state. That is a
privileged few.
That is a privileged few. And
How many congressmen do we have? U.S.?
We have 435 U.S. House of Representatives, if I'm not mistaken. Out of the millions of people, we have 435.
50 million we have now?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit there and say it's not impossible, but it's not likely. But you can only raise your kids to carry on what you've been taught from your parents. And when you lose that disconnect from the values that you've been taught, and let your kids be free for all, and let them be subjective to perpetual victimhood, if you are a constant victim, if I woke up every day and told you that you'll never be anything, that no matter
because of something else,
if you woke up every day, husband or a wife, and they said you're going to go to work today and you're never going to amount to anything
because of Donald Trump,
you're going to go to work and you're going to work 40 hours this week, and no matter how much money you're going to bring home, you're never going to be this, and you're never going to be that, and you're never going to do this. Yeah.
Because of a statue?
Because of a statue. Because you're white. Because you're black. Because of Nathan Bedford Forrest. Because of a statue. The KKK.
Because of systemic racism.
Systemic racism. You were never...
Because of poverty.
Because of poverty.
You grew up in
because your parents were poor. You live in a trailer. Your parents are poor. You're addicted to opiates. You got a DUI. You're never going to be anything. Then you will never be anything. But
and then we tell you that the only way you can be anything is if I'm elected.
Yeah.
Or if I'm in power.
If I'm elected, if my party's in power, you will. If my party has control of this, you will. But how many times have you heard, you will, and you ain't?
Yeah.
No matter what party, no matter what your status, no matter what you do, you ain't. Because you always need to be a victim. Because a victim always looks towards a savior.
Yeah.
And if they can always produce a savior, then they can always produce a victim.
False
Don't
savior.
let yourself be a victim. Before we close, Michael posted this question about a hate crime and what's going on. This is the question we're going to leave you with. We're not going to answer it. It's up to you to answer it. Go back to critical thinking in our first episode. If you haven't listened to that, check it out. It's on YouTube. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But here's the question we want to pose to you.
Well, we didn't get to nearly all of the things that we wanted to talk about tonight, but I think I will pose this question. But I will also leave you with this thought before I pose this question, is that everybody says that Trump is divisive and Trump perpetuates hate and Trump has caused these nationalist supremacist groups to come to the forefront. But we have Democratic leaders telling you to resist. Hillary Clinton, I think she coined that phrase, didn't she?
Yeah, resist.
Hillary Clinton told people to resist. Antifa incited violence, which is a left-wing hate group.
I would say a left-wing terrorist group.
Oh, left-wing terrorist group. That's a better. Well, I would call KKK a terrorist group.
I would.
I would call the KKK a terrorist organization.
But before Michael goes on, let's go back to that. The analogy I said: do you go to your work every day? Do you see a KKK person? Do you see on the national news? Do you see the KKK gathering in white robes with burning cross and pitchfork? And
Never.
People are going to say Charlotte. That
is a hoax.
Is a hoax.
Another hoax.
But on a day by day basis, from 2016 to present, did you ever see video of Klansmen walking around oppressing or perpetrating violence? What we did see is a left-wing, radical left-wing organization known as Antifa violently attacking Trump supporters. Did you ever, in American society, think that you could have an opposing political viewpoint, and that opposing political viewpoint would subject you to physical violence? And that's what Antifa and the Democratic Party have advocated and allowed to happen. That it is okay to subject an opposing political party to violence. And if you don't believe me, before we close, Michael, you going to pull up some video? Or are you gonna?
I'm just gonna give a synopsis.
He's just gonna give a synopsis of this.
I mean, we played a little bit of it with Maxine Waters, and Maxine Waters is basically telling her base to incite violence against anybody who supports Trump. And she says, if you see them anywhere, don't make it known that they are not welcome anywhere. And at the same time that she was saying that, we were seeing the press secretary, Sarah Sanders, run out of restaurants. At the same time, we're seeing the Department of Homeland Security secretary shamed in a restaurant. And the whole time, Miss Impeachment, Maxine Waters, Mad Maxine, is telling people to not let Trump supporters have rest or feel comfortable in their own country. Report after report of Trump supporters being targeted, beat up, egged, physically assaulted just for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. I'm not trying to make Trump supporters or nationalists, because I'm a nationalist. I love America.
Yeah.
I say God bless America. And I have traveled all over the world. I have been to Singapore. I've been to Indonesia. I've been to Brazil. And I can tell you, I am blessed to be American. There is no greater country than the United States of America. And people around the world are wonderful. People around the world are loving, they're kind. We share the brotherhood of humanity. But as far as a nation goes, America is the most beautiful, free country that exists on the face of the earth. And I can tell you that the American dream is real. The American dream that we've been sold is a farce. But the American dream of freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to bear arms, freedom to succeed, freedom of capital, capitalism is real, and it has brought more people out of poverty than any other system around the world. And I can tell you, as somebody who's traveled, that I am proud and thankful to God to be an American. But the question that I want to leave you with, and a little tease for our next program, is if hate crimes are so prevalent in the United States, and racism and hate crimes are such a huge problem in this country, then why is it necessary for hoaxes? I found a website today that gives a study that they conducted on their own. The website is, I want you to go check it out for yourself, is American Renaissance. And according to their study, they say that between June of 2015 and September of 2017, that there were 101 individuals implicated in hoax hate crimes. And I Googled real hate crimes in the United States today, and I honestly didn't see one. I didn't see a real hate crime. But like Jack said earlier, you have our Twitter, you have our Facebook, you have a way to contact us. If you can shoot us a legitimate hate crime, not a transgender woman who burned down her own house and her 5 dogs because she was upset that that her gay pride event didn't have more attention, or she was upset that her cultural irrelevance was a reality. Please tell us, because we want to know, and we will be glad to read that. We will be glad to report on it. We will be glad to report on real hate crimes. But if hate crimes are so prevalent in the United States, why is it necessary to create a fake narrative and to create fake hate crimes?
And before we end here, it doesn't just end with Covington High School. It doesn't just end with the Jussie Smollett incident. If you really dive into Google, and when you Google something, just because it doesn't show up on page 1 or page 2 doesn't mean it's not there. It's not there. It's there. Google has an agenda. We'll probably get into that sometime, but Google has an agenda. You got to dig.
And there's just because I didn't see a hate crime on my Google search doesn't mean that those don't exist.
It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but the information is out there. You've got to do your critical thinking, and you've got to go out there and dig for it. You can't just, sit here in a busy world and type in a few words, and if it doesn't come up on search 1, 2, or 3, then it isn't or isn't so. So that's the question. Well, why is there so many hate crime hoaxes if hate crime is so prevalent? Why isn't it every day that we go out to the grocery, the gas station, the restaurant to eat with our families? Why are you not seeing a hate crime on the street? Why are you not seeing a hate crime in the restaurant? Why are you not seeing a hate crime pumping gas?
But why are you seeing so many hate crimes perpetrated against, or I wouldn't call them hate crimes, but I would just call them
violence,
bias crimes or violence perpetrated against Trump supporters?
And this thought before we go: do you really ever think in America, this free republic that we have, that your political opinion, how far left or how far right, would subject you to any kind of violence in America? That wearing, I mean, who would have thought early 2000s, 90s, if I wore a Bush quail shirt, or if I wore a Bush Cheney shirt.
Oh no, that would never.
That I would get the crap beat out of me.
Well, that's a whole other show, but
right. But here we are in America today, in the midst of hate crimes against blacks and browns and any minority. Why is it that blacks and browns in Congress, it's okay for them to say, let's be violent against Trump supporters because those white demon people are somehow oppressing you, when the fact of the reality is that these black and brown and white career politicians are the ones that have been suppressing you and me for years and years and years, not solving one single problem. Because of all the problems in this world, of all the religious diversity, the ethnic diversity in this country, every single one of us still has some problem. Not one problem's been solved. Not all problems for whites have been solved. Not all the problems for blacks have been solved. Not all the problems for Hispanics have been solved. In all these years that there's been an issue with each one of us, that not one segment of our society has been said, well, everything's been solved for the Hispanics, now we'll fix everything for the blacks. No, you're a perpetual victim. Because if you remain a victim, you'll remain stagnant, you'll never reach your potential, and you'll never pose a threat. Then you'll always rely on the government. And you'll always rely on those who control the narrative to solve the problem.
Yep.
When you should be relying on yourself and capitalism and the opportunity that you've got before you to get yourself
self-reliant, and responsible for your own life.
So, we'll end on that. I know it's been a long show, a little bit longer than we anticipated. We missed, like Michael said, we missed a little bit of the highlight of what we wanted to, but I think we hit on something that hit home.
I think we talked about relevant issues.
A relevant issue.
Yeah.
So, remember, you can like us on Twitter at project_45. Remember, if you find a hate crime,
please report
it.
A real one.
No,
a real one.
Dial 911 first, but go ahead and God have mercy. If you ain't got common sense to dial 911 first, probably you shouldn't be listening to this show. But
no, if you don't have common sense to dial 911 first,
don't listen.
Please listen to this show.
Yeah,
please do. Maybe we can help you in the future.
Follow us on Twitter. Tweet us your pictures of hate crimes if you have them. If you see them. The Klansman that's working.
Yeah,
the KKK guy in his white hood that's working next to you at the T-Mobile call center.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And we're just gonna leave you this. Maybe it's a little teaser for an upcoming show. But has anyone seen Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Where is RBG? Is she dead? Is she alive? Has anyone attended her funeral service? You can also tweet that. Remember, Twitter, project_45. Follow us on Facebook. Like our videos. We're going to be on YouTube. We're also on Apple iTunes.
Oh, tell them at YouTube. Crash the Hound.
YouTube, our channel is Crash the Hound. That's Crash the Hound Media. So just Google YouTube search of Crash the Hound. You can find our Project 45 videos there. Like I said, Apple iTunes. We're on Google Podcasts and various other podcast platforms. So be sure to check us out there. Follow us, like us, on all that good stuff like that. be sure to tweet us any of your questions. If you have any ideas for shows, we'd take ideas for shows.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or questions. Yeah,
questions. We'll love to answer it. If you got any questions, tweet us. We'll give a shout out. If you're a fan of the show, critique the show. We're open either way. Our feelings don't get hurt because our parents raised us to take a little bit of criticism. So
we did not get a trophy.
We didn't get a trophy.
We lost.
I did not get a participation award for being horribly awful at basketball. White men cannot jump. So there you have it on our social media platforms. Be sure to contact us.
Well, you could jump if you were 1/6 the gravity of the moon.
If 1/6 the gravity of the moon, but we did not land on the moon. Did we land on the moon? Who knows? So be sure to check us out. I'm Jack.
I'm Michael.
We're Project 45. We look forward to coming back to you again next week for a brand new show. We'll have a brand new topic.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, maybe. If anybody sees her, please let us know. We're kind of worried. So that's it.
That's it. We hope you all have a good week.
Yeah, a good week. Watch out for those Klansmen. Be sure of hate crimes.
Yeah, hate crimes. And
keep on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, keep on doing that thing. Keep on fighting for freedom. Keep on being a patriot of America. And Michael?
God bless America.
God bless America. Until next time, Project 45 out of here.